there's history, right? We all have
Yes.
history. It's not like we just started at birth, right? But sometimes we walk around acting like that, like we just started at birth, but we absolutely did not, right? Lots of generations came before. But how do you impart that to the parents you're working with, and how do you help them in the moment go, oh, wait, this isn't me. This is what happened to me.
Yes, it's true. It doesn't start when we're born. It starts 7 generations back, is I believe the indigenous belief.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're parenting, being in that present moment is so hard because we have our past wound, the story from like, this happened to me. I got yelled at for, I don't know, putting my feet on the table, something as menial as that, or not making my bed. I got yelled at for this. And so my child needs to make their bed. And if they don't show up, they don't do it perfectly, they're not studying, they're not achieving, then our fear goes from past fear to catastrophization. And then they're like, if they don't do A, they're not going to succeed. They're not going to be accepted. They're not going to belong because I was either yelled at, hit, or sent to my room for not showing up perfectly. If my son or daughter doesn't show up perfectly, then they're not going to succeed because that was the messaging from my parents or society. So in that present moment, we're carrying all the stories from generations past. Like we don't belong if we don't change our name because we will be killed. But then it changes to we don't belong unless we're wearing the same clothes because, say you're Muslim, say you're, we have to look like everyone else. And then that story percolates all through belonging, whether it's racism, religion, how many people have changed their religion so that they don't get killed. So that's old story generations. But then it percolates into the colonialism of like eating with a spoon and fork. Like in Indonesia, people didn't have spoons and forks. They ate with their hands. And here's an example. I can feel my shame and guilt already rising up, and I'm going to share this publicly. Here's an example. So I'm in Indonesia, and we're eating dinner, and my son starts eating his food with his hands. And I'm like, what are you doing? Here's a spoon, here's a fork. This is how we eat in Indonesia, spoon and fork, not knife and fork. And he's like, what? And he's shoving, whatever bread, fried rice and stuff with his hands. I was like, you're eating like an animal. Like there's cutlery here. And what does he say to me? Looks me in the eye and he says, my teacher eats with her hands. There's the act of colonialism. And I just sunk and I was like, you are right. My parents grew up eating with their hands. And here I am living in Bali, surrounded by people who eat with their hands. And in that moment of growing up in Canada, under so many colonial things, I did not recognize that, how could I call him, you're eating like an animal? So I was just like, okay, there it is right there. Generations passed, and here I am with my child in the moment, carrying that story that you are barbaric. In Morocco, the French called the people, the Berbers out in the mountains, in the Atlas Mountains, Berbers, and it meant they were barbaric because they lived in the mountains. Like this is how it starts. So just recognizing patterns and stories.
Yeah, that's a powerful story. I can just sort of feel it too in my chest, just sort of nothing as kind of profound as that, but things like you can't wear that. You can't look like that. You can't fail in school. You can't refuse school. You can't say it doesn't matter. You can't.
All these shoulds, it stems from so many generations back where it was survival, like literally survival. I will be killed if, and then now it's percolated into we need to belong, and it's a survival skill to belong.